Well, hey.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, I like our vibe.
I know.
We're giving Riverdale.
Oh, that's great. That's so good. I actually, when you walked out in that shirt, I was like, actually, we look really cool together today. I really like it.
I don't know. I grabbed this on like a whim. And then I was like, I don't really want to wear it buttoned up, but if I wear it too unbuttoned, then I'm a little hoochie.
I know. I liked you walking out and saying,
I
I'm
had
Charlie.
my little cropped tank, and now I'm like channeling my inner Charlie.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what to wear, and all I saw was Edward in my head saying he was going to hell, and I went, I'm going to wear my leather jacket.
That scene. I didn't start a timer like I was supposed to.
That's right, we're at 52 seconds.
Oh, you started a timer. Like we've been talking for 52 seconds?
Time for 57, 8,
9. Cue the music. Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea, and I've never given much thought to how I would die, but dying in the place of someone I love seems like a great way to go.
Hey everyone, my name is Ariel, and I don't plan on dying, ever.
Oh, you're going to be a vampire.
I'm a vampire. Okay, so I was like, okay, I'm going to say I don't plan on dying, and as I'm saying it, I'm like,
Ever.
Vampire.
Vampire.
Actually, that sounds terrible.
I don't want to be immortal.
I do not think it's...
Tell me your thoughts on immortality. Let's have an existential conversation in the middle of episode 2 of Book Watchers.
Welcome to the Book Watchers. Okay, all right. Infinite chances to continue to do more and more in the world. That could be cool. You know, like there's no end, and so you can always do better. You can always, like, as somebody who's addicted to learning, infinite chances to learn, that's cool. But you have to sit through watching the world turn to hell, and horrible things happen, and you are going to never get any rest from it. It will never be over.
The first book I read of the year was called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about that.
Is it?
Yeah. She gets immortality at a very high cost.
Oh.
Like depressingly high. But she just watches the world
go to
suffer over and over again.
See, and that's, I think, the part that I would find hard.
Yeah.
Is the, like, I have to watch this. Like, I would love the infinite options and the infinite, there's never any end to what you can do.
Yeah.
But I also, maybe I'll ask about that later.
I think the book starts in, like, 1734. Okay. Like, that's when we first meet Addie.
Yeah.
And then it jumps between 1734 to, like, 2019.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how long she's been alive. That's how much she's witnessed.
And, like, you've got to watch plagues and famine and...
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, this isn't about that. Unless you're Carlisle Cullen. This is episode 2 of Book Watchers. We watch and we read.
Good job.
Thank you. We read and we watch.
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't cover that very well in the last one.
That's all right. We're going to have it in the description.
I figured they're going to pick up what's going on.
You're going to pick up what we're putting down. We're talking all things adaptations. We're starting with 2 really big ones. Our first episode, if you've missed it, go back, was Pride and Prejudice. Ariel has read the book a bazillion times. By that, I mean 4. But today we're covering Twilight, the book to the 2008 film. And I'm your host. I've read the book multiple times. And I've watched the movie also multiple times. In the spirit of honesty, Ariel has read the book.
Yes.
It's been a while. She's only read it once. And she's also only seen the movies once or twice.
I've seen them twice.
Yeah.
I avoided them my entire adolescence as long as I possibly could.
Yeah.
We watched it right before our birthday last year. We went through the whole thing. So I think 2024 was when I first watched it.
I think 2023.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because it had to be before Taylor and Kevin moved.
Yeah, good point. Good point. We'd like to have it be one person reads the book, watch the movie, other person just watches the movie. But this one, in all
There's
honesty,
only so much you can do when things are popular. Like if we cover Holes, have you read Holes?
It's on my list of ones to cover. I'm obsessed with Holes.
Holes is because I've read that book.
I know.
I've watched. So it's like that one we might just discuss,
And I think that, that might happen with some of them where we're like, we did it. They're both of us. But anyway.
And then before we begin, I want to address one of the multiple problematic parts of this series. And it's the treatment of the Quileute tribe. Their legends and cultures were essentially bastardized. Their land was filmed on, and the tribe was given no credit. And the stories that were put together to build the tattoos and the wolves, and where am I? And they haven't seen like one iota of the profits from this. I strongly encourage anyone who listens to Twilight or loves Twilight or gives a shit at all about the series to look into their history and check out the Move to Higher Ground Fund. It is dedicated to help preserve the tribe because their land is sinking. And I like to put my morals first.
I like to
if
throw
I
my
can.
morals on the table.
I like to just throw my morals right on the table.
No, and I think it adds an interesting. I would have not known that Jacob's everything that they were like. I would just okay. This is gonna sound horrible, but I'm an average person having an average life.
Yeah,
I would just go, oh, okay, they made up Native American stuff. You know, and so it's cool that like when you were talking about that, they were talking about like. I didn't know anything about like the tattoos and things like that's interesting. Yeah. So I think it's good to bring awareness.
Absolutely.
We can't attend to every controversy and
there are two other really big ones that I'm not going to touch. Yeah.
Like sometimes like there's a movie I want to cover, Rebecca. Oh. It has Armie Hammer. We don't like it. We're not but am I going to let him and his travesty of drama stop me from advocating for everyone to hate Netflix?
Honestly, even more reason to.
It's
fuel
like,
to the fire, if you ask me.
So it's like, we'll talk about it. So we can't cover everything, and we can't, we can't sit here and apologize for everything. But bringing awareness is. Yeah,
I'm happy to bring awareness. Stephanie Meyer is going to do what Stephanie Meyer is going to do. One thing I can do is just combat that where I can.
Yeah, right? What we know now and what we looked at then are different things.
Gosh, so 2008 Chelsea versus 2024 Chelsea.
And 2008 Twilight. It's like sometimes we've got to just pick up the pieces.
Yep.
So anyway.
But so now into more of the debauchery of it all. Now to have some fun. Cute little minute summary. It's probably more than a minute of the book / movie. In this story, Bella moves to Forks, Washington because her flighty mother wants to spend time with her minor league baseball playing husband. And he doesn't have a team, so he has to keep flying around until he gets signed. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's not on a team. So they're trying to get him signed into...
Oh!
Yeah. So Bella quickly becomes the obsession of every single person in the town of Forks, Washington, because she's shiny and new. And everyone except Edward Cullen, who can't seem to stand the sight or smell of her. But the two cannot stay apart, and soon his deep, dark secret is revealed. And I suggest we say it out loud. He's a vampire. Bella does not care.
Because she's nuts.
No, she literally says, I don't care. That's like the line in the book. And so the lion falls in love with the lamb. While playing vampire baseball, hard jump, I know, with the Cullen the Cullen clan, a new trio of vampires shows up, and one in particular, James, smells Bella and decides to hunt her. And he's a tracker, which is very important. From there, a series of life-saving activities occur, and it all culminates in Bella giving Jasper and Alice the slip and meeting James at a ballet studio to greet her fate. Luckily, Edward and co. swoop in time to save her, but not before she is bit. Edward has to make the impossible decision. Does she turn into a vampire, or does he suck the venom out and risk killing her by sucking her dry? His self-control wins out, and Bella's humanity and soul are saved. And then, like any good romance, we wrap up at prom.
Really good job.
Thank you so much.
I only have one question.
Yeah.
So Her humanity and her soul?
Great question. I'm glad you asked. Edward doesn't want to turn her because he thinks that vampires, since they're monsters, don't have souls and are doomed to like an eternity in hell.
Oh, that's why he says I'm going to hell anyway.
Yes, but he's hell-bent on her not going to hell.
He's hell-bent on her not going to hell.
Yeah. And so he wants to make sure that they can go to heaven.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I did put in my script for your reference a link to a TikTok of him putting his arm around her. If you wanted to watch,
it's just so
it's
hot.
so hot.
Oh my God! I mean, it's
that.
why I wore this jacket.
Yeah, no, I know.
It was so funny. I never understood
That
why
line.
anyone found him attractive.
No, me neither.
I never got it. And then I watched it, and it's moments like that one where you're like, and I'm done.
Yeah, no, I will be the first to admit I was not attracted to Robert Pattinson when I was
In the beginning?
17 years old. I watched that movie, and we'll get into the character comparisons in a minute.
I was asking myself who I would be into at that time. That's an easy answer.
Emmett. All roads lead to Emmett.
But anyway, what were you saying? I cut you off.
I walked out of the movie theater just like abundantly disappointed.
Oh, really?
I was like, I don't know if I'll ever feel joy again.
Because he's not. I do not.
Because
know
I
if
didn't
I'll
think he was
ever
attractive,
feel
and I
joy.
thought Bella was destroyed.
Okay. Are we going to talk more about them specifically, or are we getting into it right now?
What do you want to do?
Well, we can jump into. I've got questions. I've got a few, just questions.
Okay.
Maybe mainly about Emmett.
Okay. Yes, Cullen Lutz is that hot.
Yeah,
No, I did
when he's
not.
on the car.
In the books, he's amazing. Like he's very Emmett.
Emmett.
He's very
yeah.
funny. He's like big brother energy. Like we love him. The first time I saw him, I was like,
What?
okay. And then, like you just said, the Jeep scene.
Oh, wait, that's where it's sold. Because, like, isn't the first time he comes in, he's like in like a sweater or something?
He's in this gorgeous, like, pure white, I'd get spaghetti sauce on it in a heartbeat sweater, and
It
with
was not
Rosalie.
it.
I mean, the first time we see them is like the weirdest introduction to characters I've ever gotten in my life. And let's do it. We'll get into the minutia of Bella and Edward because they're the only ones I'm going to talk about anyway.
Okay.
So let's talk about our intro to the Cullens.
Okay.
It's day one at Forks High School. Bella has been inundated by everybody. Mike and Eric are obsessed with her because she's a brunette.
I do not understand.
know.
Like,
I think it is literally like it's been the whole town they've been in diapers together. So she's like finally someone
shiny.
that like doesn't know that Mike's dad owns the sports store, or maybe doesn't know like Eric peed his pants in the third grade. You know, like
I love that you know that.
I made that one.
Oh,
up.
okay.
I made that one up. The sports store thing is true. That's a book thing that never made it to the movies.
Okay.
Because Bella had a job.
Really?
Yeah, Bella gets a job in New Moon.
Really?
And has the job like through Eclipse. Yeah, through high school. She gets a job working
That's
at the outdoor store.
She's just a vampire in
She's just a...
she's a Cullen. It's all she is, people.
I don't like any cold wet thing. Anyway, she's at the lunch table.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
We see a group walking towards the cafeteria, and she's like, who are they? And Jessica, Anna Kendrick, perfectly cast, no notes, is like, oh, those are the Cullens. They're Dr. and Mrs. Cullen's kids, but like none of them are related, but like they're all together. And I just want to pause. Ariel and I have discussed this probably ad nauseum. We went to a very liberal performing arts high school, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If there were 4 or 5 kids that were all like foster kids, but were all in a relationship in Chicago, Illinois, that would turn heads.
Red flags.
Red flags.
Oh,
it'd be weird.
Weird. I mean, and she's like, Dr. Cullen is like a matchmaker. And it's like, ew.
She does have a little bit of like contempt in her voice. And
Does
like,
she?
Oh yeah, I think
Okay.
the town does think it's weird
Because it's
but
really
he's also like
weird.
a prolific doctor. They're also, I feel like, pretty privileged. You can get away
Which
with
is kind
some
of funny
things.
because I don't think any of them are like, other than
Emmett.
well, duh. Rosalie.
Rosalie was done real dirty. I'm sorry. Alice is the prettiest of all of them.
Yeah, Alice. She's such a pixie.
I know.
She's such a sweet
But
pixie.
so they're like walking in, and Rosalie looks 35.
She
okay?
really does.
Like what they did to Nikki Heat. I don't remember her name.
Weren't they wearing wigs on this movie?
And her wig is crazy. I don't think that beauty mark is on her actual face. I'm looking it up though.
Okay, good.
Before I say the wrong thing, what the heck is her name? Nikki Reed. Oh no, Nikki Haley's a politician.
Yes.
Okay, her beauty mark is real, but I think they like.
She has
amped it
brown
up.
hair.
Yeah, and she's gorgeous.
She has brown hair.
She's gorgeous, and she looks. I think that maybe that's also part of it though, because they're supposed to be beautiful, but also like scary.
That's one thing that I remember when I was reading the book. I kind of thought, I don't think there's any way you could do these characters completely now. And this was an indie film, wasn't it?
Movie one
Was it indie?
Full blown indie budget.
Yeah.
They did not, despite the fact that the book was a bestseller.
Yeah.
They were worried that it wasn't going to do well. They were working on, for the time and for movies, a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
And it blew up. And that's why there's like a huge increase in production value in the rest of them.
Yeah.
I think they only go up, if in my opinion.
Though I will say, because we watched all of them that year, I really like the first one.
Watching the first one with you let me watch it with like new eyes.
I mean, I laughed a lot.
Yeah.
But there are parts of it that I like. When we get into James, I think it really flourishes.
Yes.
Like in the beginning, it is Trey dumb. But
Whatever do you mean?
the push baby.
Push baby. The Cullens don't come here.
You heard me talking about that?
You heard that? The thing said right to your face. We're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Sorry, guys. But
Please, but yeah.
By the way, I'm really happy you put a picture of the Jeep scene in this document so that I gave
you the one picture of him normally.
Is that him normally?
That's him normally. That's like what he looks like
I
now in his
didn't even
IMDb
recognize
headshot.
him.
And then I gave you 3 of him in character.
Thank you so much. Also, I looked down and I went, who's the third man?
Oh, that's Cullen.
Okay. I like
Blonde
his
hair.
short hair. I like his short hair. But the family's weird. I think that's where we were
Yes.
at, right?
So they get intro. They're like all together. The first people that walk in the door are Alice and Jasper. And Jasper's like, and she even is like, the one who looks like he's in pain. That's Jasper.
I mean, he does. He looks like he is in full, almost a little paralysis. Like,
Yeah.
I get why he's doing it, but
And then they're like, the short pixie one, that's Alice. But Jasper, while in pain, holds his arm up and Alice like twirls beneath him, walking into the effing cafeteria. Yeah.
It's like walking in at a wedding and you're a bridesmaid and a groom and a groomsman and you need to do a
It's
little
like they're doing their
intro.
intros.
They were like, everyone walk in and kind of do what your character would do. And they're like,
Yep.
hey, let's do a little like twirl.
Yep. And then they were like, the big one is Emmett and that's Rosalie. And I think he just has his arm around her maybe.
I mean.
And then the door opens and Robert Pattinson's there.
With all his hair.
With all his hair. Which actually at one point, I don't think this was in the books. I think it is a movie thing, but it's at the end when they're getting married. Spoiler, sorry. But Jessica's giving a speech at the wedding and she's like, Edward, or the hair as I call him. But so he walks in and she's like, and who's that? And she's like, that's Edward Cullen. He's the youngest and he's gorgeous, but like, don't try. None of the girls are good enough for him anyway. And Edward like has this kind of little smirk on his face. He goes to join his family. And we're going to talk about some goofy moments because I have a lot of goofy moments in here that like when I read the book, none of this would have come to my mind.
It's amazing.
I would not have pictured Emmett Cullen carrying a gallon bag of hard-boiled, unpeeled eggs.
I hate that I missed that. Like you're like, what about the eggs? And I'm like, what do you mean the eggs?
Like, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
The last thing I want to point out is when Edward sits down, we're going to get this a lot. He does, you probably can't see me, but Ariel can. He just does fingertips.
he's a stiff man.
And at one point, like when they're talking, he's got his fingers like this
Still,
on a rock.
really?
Yeah, Edward's a weirdo.
That makes me really happy.
So let's talk about characters.
Yeah, let's
So
talk.
we met the Cullens. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I would say the only big difference is like Jasper's not this like weird stiff guy in the books.
He's so much. Yeah.
Like he is the newest vegetarian.
Yeah, and I
But
like
he's
it.
also going to a high school, so he should be somewhat decent. They shouldn't be throwing him into high school if he's not desensitized enough. So the other thing that they say is because he can control emotion, he may have the ability to feel the emotions of everyone around him.
Oh.
And so that might also add to his mental state.
His controlling emotion is always kind of not conveyed in the film. In the book, I really got it because she talks about like, and it's so hard. It's so hard to convey feeling.
Yes.
Like, oh, I felt this way. It's like, okay, how do you do it? But in the book, it was very clear to me. She's like, oh, I'm feeling better.
Yep.
And Jasper's there.
Well, I also like in Eclipse, I think it is, when it's New Moon. So it's her birthday and she is given a gift and she's like upset. She's when I want to acknowledge that she's aging. And again, they're trying to have a low profile. In the school hallway, Bella goes, Jasper, no fair with the mind control thing or whatever. And I'm like,
they're probably just like, wow, weird teenagers. There's teenagers walking around the hallways being like, stop with the mind control, buddy.
Mood control. Sorry, I said the wrong thing. But anyway, in the books, Bella is sarcastic. Okay. She's awkward and clumsy, but she is very funny and very raw emotionally.
Okay.
Like, we're told that she spends her first night in Forks crying herself to sleep.
Yeah.
Because of how miserable she is moving there. And when her and Edward start their courtship, friendship, whatever you want to call it.
Edward would call it a courtship.
Yeah, good point.
Or obsession.
She like holds her own against him. She gets really angry with him when he is exhibiting any sort of controlling behavior or like talking down to her. Like she's very much like, No. And in the movie, they just were like, awkward. That's the one we remember. That's the one that
even the being clumsy, I didn't think they did enough of.
No, she falls on black ice.
Yeah.
And like, oh, who doesn't?
Exactly. It's like, have her trip up the stairs, have her run into one of the lights that's hanging above our heads.
Yeah, there's a lot of things she could do.
Yeah.
Or like, she opens the door and hits Jacob. And it's like, that's actually not clumsy. Jacob was in the way, quite frankly. But so I do think it's hard to portray clumsiness without it being clownish or like fake looking and over the top. Yeah. I do think there are ways to do it, like you mentioned. Yeah. But like, essentially she stammers and gasps and bites her lip through every single conversation she has. Yeah. She does not have a single interaction where she doesn't do something gaspy, something stammery, or just like biting her lip. There's even a line of dialogue in there that was fully set up to be a joke, which they're like, if you're from Arizona, like, shouldn't you be tan? And she's like, I guess that's why they kicked me out. But she's like, I guess that's why they kicked me out. And it's like, the one line they gave you to showcase your personality, and like, and I the problem is I don't know if this is Kristen Stewart or if it's directing.
Yes.
And I think it's a healthy mix of both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She gets a little better when the directors switch, but not by much. And I've seen Kristen Stewart in enough stuff.
And yeah. I feel like the whole Twilight really wanted it to be this very serious. Like, she oddly matches the color grading, you know?
The color grading I actually love.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Like, blue,
but I'm saying, like, her kind of void of having, like, normalcy, like, fits with how void Forks is, you know? She's very different than everybody else.
Which, that's supposed to be important. Like, one of the things that we establish is she feels very out of place, specifically with people. Oh. But notice how, like, once she's, like, with the Cullen, she never really feels out of place.
Didn't you say she's better as a vampire than...
Well, Miranda certainly thinks so.
She thinks she's better as a vampire.
Thank you.
She doesn't plan on dying.
She better not.
I know. You better stop.
You better stop. Yes. When it's supposed to be her transition when she does become a vampire. Spoilers again. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, guys. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, I think 2012 was when the last one. It's been a decade. It's been 200 years.
It's been 200 years.
But yeah, she very much fits in with vampires way more than people. And so we'll jump to Edward. And the longer I dwell on it, the less different they feel to me.
They felt so different for me.
Ooh, okay. Well, so I never found Book Edward to be an abusive, controlling a-hole.
I didn't see that either.
He was sarcastic. He was witty. And like, he does struggle with his immortality and what they need to do to survive. Like, he struggles very much with being a vampire. Not to the extent Rosalie does, but like...
I saw him more...
He hates himself. If you read Midnight Sun...
Oh, really?
Highly recommend you read Midnight Sun.
Really?
Oh, it's so good. You get a lot more of Edward's psyche. But I do think in the movie, there are elements where he does come off a little more aggressive or worse than he is.
I saw when I was reading the book, again, a while back, but like a year ago or something, but I found him to be more charming.
Yeah.
Not what is it? Distract me so that I don't turn this car around. You know, like
which I think he does.
No, which
do
is
that.
fine, and that's not a great example,
right?
But
it is. No, it's different though. The vibe was different.
I feel like I saw him when I was reading it as more fun. Not fun. I don't know. Not the serious, depressed.
Yeah, like when he finds her in Port Angeles after she's about to be attacked and he is pissed and he like brings her to go get food or whatever. He like slips the waitress money to take them to a more private booth.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah. And she tells him, I think the waitress at one point like asks if they need anything and he like smiles up at her and Bella's like, you really need to not do that. Like, I don't think you're aware of the effect you have on people. Like, that poor woman is probably hyperventilating in the back. And she like makes a comment about him being dazzling. Yeah. And he's like, do I dazzle you? Uh-huh. And he can't read her mind, which is important. That's an important thing. And I think like that's what makes her so interesting to him too, because he can't read her motives the same way, or like he needs her to answer his questions because he can't just get them. Yeah. And so, you know, intellectually, there's a way to fall in love with someone there.
Intellectually, right? I think when Robert Pattinson is at his house, like when he's walking her through the house, that's when I saw the Edward Cullen that I saw in the book. Yep.
Which is free to be himself.
That was
hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
I understood it. Like when they're like walking past and she's like, "Are those all graduation caps?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's a joke." I was like, "Whoa, did you get
matriculate
really, really attractive all of a sudden?"
Or when she's like in his room. Oh. And she's like, I'm not scared of you. And he's like, you shouldn't have said that. And he like flings her out the window. But yes, there are moments of brilliance.
And that's why I think it might also be directing on his part, because it kind of shows he has, and I'll also say, you know, way down the line in the movies when they're like at their honeymoon, he wants to play chess. Like that was more of like the funny kind of calm guy, even though he's still very serious.
Oh, their honeymoon.
I know.
Yeah. So I will say I think Robert Pattinson did a better Edward than Kristen Stewart did a Bella, but I think it suffers from not a good script adaptation of their dialogue and like their character interactions. Yeah. And for Kristen Stewart's case, so I'm begging someone to prove me wrong. I want to see a movie where, I guess I've been told the Princess Diana one's pretty amazing, so maybe I'll check that out. She did get Oscar nominated, so
she did, and I've heard it's very good.
And then I want to do an honorable mention for everybody's favorite police chief, Charlie Swan.
Thank God. If you didn't cover Charlie, why would we even? Why are we even doing this show?
What would we be doing if I wasn't talking about a mustachioed man? The movie nailed it.
He's perfect. I agreed with you.
He's gruff. He's quippy. He's quippy like Bella is supposed to be. And the only thing that's lost in translation is his relationship with Bella because of how they ruined Bella. Like, Bella and him were supposed to, like, goof around. She cooks for him. Yeah. Instead, they, like, go to this diner because Charlie can't do anything. It's like, okay, he can't, but also Bella like picked up the slack. She didn't just like lord it over him.
Yeah.
So
Charlie was really well
all
done.
of that bitching and moaning aside, I do think the movie is quite close to the source material when it comes to the actions that happen and how everyone interacts and the story that is told.
Okay.
I think the few things that they added or changed, some not necessary, some are. A change I don't necessarily love, but I know why they did it, was adding in all the scenes showing people being hunted, and they were like claiming animal attacks. And they do that really early on before we know the truth about the Cullens. Granted, if you've read the books, you're going into, like if you watch the movie not knowing it was a vampire movie, I don't know what to tell you.
If you existed in the 2000s and didn't know it was a vampire movie, don't know what to tell you. Yeah.
I don't know how to help you there, but like honestly, wish I could have gone in that blind. That would have been
really cool, yeah.
But so I don't know if they were trying to establish these vampires might be scary, like Edward's family might be scary, or there might be a different breed that is scary. Like, I'm not sure what, I think they were just trying to, it's not an action book, nor are these action movies, really. Like, it's a story about two teenagers falling in love.
Yeah, and then
right?
there's
And you're
vampires but I think they really, and I didn't read the other books,
Yeah.
but I felt like they were really kind of trying to go for oddly like, not action. It's not action. It's not suspense. It's not thriller, but like haunting. And like, I feel like these scenes added some stakes to, there's killings going on.
Exactly.
And I actually really found them to be kind of oddly placed. Like those scenes, I was like, why are we here now? Who are these people? What's going on? Like the guy who dies.
I can't remember his name, but he's Butt Crack Santa.
Yes, okay. He's the one at the diner.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, yeah. I didn't know he was the guy at the diner.
Right.
So I was like, oh, why did they have the scene with the guy at the diner? Just to be like, people are creepy? And then on my second watch, I went, same person.
Yeah, and that's when Edward's driving Bella home, too, and they see the cop cars. And so she finds out that Charlie's friend died. Whole thing.
Yeah.
Another change that I felt did a disservice to the characters are when Edward saves Bella's life from getting smushed by Tyler's van. He just vanishes. He ups and like jumps off her truck and leaves her there alone. In the books, he's by her side the whole time. And he's like, I was right there. And everyone's like, wow, we didn't see you. And he's like, well, that's weird because he gaslights the entire high school. And then he has Bella help him gaslight the entire high school.
What's his okay.
His explanation for staying there was she was going to say, like, Edward, like, stopped the car with his hands. And he was like, it was an adrenaline rush.
Oh, like people picking up a car.
But people, it was just like, him just leaving to have her deal with the chaos was, like, not, it was just weird. Like, when they were together, you kind of, in the book, like, it felt, I had more questions when he was there and not answering anything than when he's gone. At least you can't get answers when he's not next to you.
That's a good point.
I thought it was
unnecessary,
a strange, unnecessary change. Like he could have just been, like, and she kept going. Like, luckily Edward was there, and because she was like, "You're gonna tell me everything," but he's like, "I don't know what you could possibly mean." Like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
He was like, "People get adrenaline rushes all the time, Beller."
Does he say Bell?
No, it's just with his British accent.
Oh,
actually, people call her Old Beller online. And then and a lot of my complaints are really nitpicky.
But
but you know what?
That's good on them that it's small complaints, not big complaints.
And I just like, those books changed my life, and then the movie changed my life again.
It feels so much like your relationship with Twilight is very similar to my relationship with Harry Potter. Except when they did the movies, I was fulfilled.
The movies fulfilled me for Harry Potter in a lot of ways. I don't know how many complaints I have when it comes to the Harry Potter movies.
I have complaints as they go along, but there's not a whole lot. I know. The biggest complaint was that Peeves wasn't in it.
I think Peeves is in the first one, right?
Yeah, but it's hard
not as like a real character.
It's also like hard to tell if it's Peeves or
just
if
a
it's
ghost.
a ghost. Yeah. And like everyone's like, look, it's Peeves. And I'm like, how do you know? The actor actually did have a scene. He was a
Oh,
character,
yeah.
and then they cut him.
Dang.
Anyway.
Dang.
Dang.
Another big change, and this is just in the operations of order, or order of operations,
Okay.
is when the reveal happens of him being a vampire.
Yeah.
The way it happens in the book is he's like, you need to distract me right now.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, oh, I think I figured out what you are.
Yeah.
And then they go to the restaurant, and then they're driving home.
Oh,
And she's
wow.
like, you're
So it
a
happens early.
vampire.
Okay.
And he's like, what do we eat? Right? And then what happens is he takes her out on a date to the meadow where he can then reveal himself.
Yes, okay.
And answer more questions should they want. They kiss, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But so the only reason I have an issue with them changing this the way that they did is because of how goofy and weird they made the reveal.
But it's dramatic, Chelsea.
We are spinning in a forest. Why are we spinning?
Why are you running?
Why are you running? Like, why are we spinning? There's no reason to be spinning.
Because it's a disorienting experience. That does not disorient her at all.
No. But then from there, they still go to the meadow, but he does the, like, as if you could outrun me. And there's,
Oh, yeah.
and the truly,
Poor babe.
This is the skin of a killer. His facial expression is insane.
It gets me every time. And I think about it and I laugh.
But the thing is, like, I'm out here, like, acting all high and mighty. I don't know what I would have done.
No, I can't say I'd do it any better. And I'm not making fun of Robert Pattinson.
No.
That whole thing, I just feel bad for him because he had to do it, and good on him for being a good actor.
Yep.
But I just love that the concept is like shiny.
Yes.
Like, I'm a disco ball.
I know. I'm trying to think of, like, how you would even, that's what it looks like. That's what it would have to look like.
Oh, I know. So my cousin was really into, Alex was super into Twilight. Like even went to cons. And she had a t-shirt that was like, I like only like guys who sparkle or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like,
What?
And it's never translated. But I remember reading the book and I went, there's no way you can do this without it looking stupid.
No.
It's cool in the book.
Yep.
There's no way to do it. Maybe now with the technology we have.
Maybe. I mean, like everything else, there's just moments of brilliance that I feel like get completely undercut by goofy things that feel out of place. And I knew from the opening. The opening of the movie is her saying, I never give much thought to how I would die, but dying in the place of someone I love seemed like a good way to go. While that's happening, there's like a little deer running through the forest. And we're like, as the audience, like hunting the deer, right? And it's like, what is that? And then right as the deer jumps, there's a collision. It's supposed to be Edward, whatever. And then it just jumps to her in the desert, holding the tiniest cactus in the whole world. And just like, what are we doing? The opening scene is so cool.
Yeah.
And then it jumps to like
tiny cactus.
So that's kind of how I knew that things weren't going to go well. Everything else I have is pretty nitpicky. I do want to go through some of it.
Yeah.
The first time after the cafeteria, when Bella walks into class.
Are we?
We're doing it. We're talking about it. I have to talk about it.
You have to talk about it.
The fan blows. Straight at Edward. Why not? And he just goes. It is. And there's the owl behind him making the wings, whatever. He's supposed to be like a fallen angel. I don't know. The movie did not do a good enough job explaining that her blood is, that she's his singer. Exactly. You should know what that means.
I mean, I know that he like can't handle the smell of her.
So they refer to when you smell like a blood, like if you smell someone that smells like so mouthwatering good that you've never smelled it before, that's your singer.
Okay.
And the information we get about singers, Emmett's killed the only two he's ever smelled.
Really?
He killed them. He sucked their blood. He wanted it.
That's Emmett.
That's Emmett. Bear of a man. The movie doesn't, he just says, like, you're like my own personal brand of heroin, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but he doesn't explain that, like, her blood doesn't smell as good to everybody else in a way that I think makes sense.
Oh.
But, you know, you do get the, like, Alice going, oh, you do smell nice. And it's kind of like, you actually could have laid that out on the table.
There could have been a
You
better
could have spelled
job.
that one out.
I mean, this poor boy. This poor boy. I watch him. This movie is one of those where my heart just goes out to Robert Pattinson because, like, that's a whole lot of scene.
I feel like you could have had him breathe very deeply and then just stiffen.
Yeah, something that
Like,
didn't look like
hands clenched on the table.
And to me, it also, not knowing context, because I didn't realize that it was a smell issue.
It's a smell.
So I was like, what is his problem?
Which I think they do this in the movie too, which I appreciate. I think she sniffs her hair.
She does.
Which she does do in the books.
Uh-huh.
In the books, she like...
Doesn't she say she likes her shampoo?
It's like, it smells like, she's like, just smells like strawberries, like normal. She's like, is everything okay? And then, of course, like, Mike's like, did you stab Cullen with a pencil? She's like, you noticed that? And I'm like, well, of course, guys.
Look at
what
him.
What are we doing? I will never recover.
No, it's
the goofiest thing I've ever seen.
it was a fumble.
And
It fumbled the ball.
I can forgive a lot. I cannot forgive that. I just can't, no
Just
matter
can't
how
do
hard
it.
I try. And then, you know, everything else that I can think of, something that was really interesting is they do blood typing. And he skips that day, and we find out that Bella, like, faints at the sight of blood, and he finds that really funny. And, like, that's another...
In the book.
Yeah, and there's, like, there's so many things that they could have used to, like, get them in the same space, get rapport, get it kind of, like, put him in areas of temptation where we're like, is she going to make it out of this alive? Instead of showing us animal attacks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The stakes could have been just as high.
Well, and they were more of a couple.
They were a couple at that point, basically.
But in the book, like, they act like more of a couple. Like, don't
Yeah.
they have that scene where they're watching the movie and they're both sitting at the back of the
They're
class?
watching Romeo and Juliet,
Yeah.
and the tension is sizzling between them.
Yeah,
Yes.
like,
yeah.
I feel like there was
Yes.
moments like that which gave you romance connection.
I
don't
think
know.
that happens in New Moon, though, if I'm not mistaken. And then he
so
dumps her.
R.I.P. in peace.
But the only other thing that people are really pissed about,
All right.
which this is a directional choice, it's a storytelling choice, it's a mechanism to let you know that there's going to be a second movie.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Okay.
okay. Victoria's at their prom. In a room full of vampires, one of them would have smelled her, probably. And Edward should have heard her thoughts.
Ooh.
So,
As the viewer, I would have never
right.
contextually
No,
known that.
I
but
think, I think
it was a liberty they had
calm
to
down.
take.
Also, he's with how many other people? Maybe he's like learned to tune out every other thought if he can. And so he wasn't listening for her, so he didn't know. You know, like there's lots of ways that we can get around that.
Yeah, okay.
Wow,
that's interesting. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
just think she's so cool that I was like, oh, she's there. She's so cool.
I know. So I said that I think Robert was a better Ed.
Ed.
Yeah.
Don't love that.
For almost all the characters, what they did was they picked like one trait from the book and boiled them down to that.
Yeah.
And we've seen enough movies in our lives that we know you can like be multiple things. You can add complexity. Like she could have been awkward, but like coped using sarcasm. Or she could have had the short temper that she actually has. Like,
Does she have a short temper?
oh yeah, she gets mad very quick.
Really?
Oh, she gets mad at Edward a lot. Or, you know, like I would have liked to have seen the first kiss where she pounces on him like a rabid animal and he has to like separate them. And then the second time she's trying so hard not to jump his bones that she faints. Like, that's the kind of stuff I cared about going into it. And I know that they were trying to make a movie that could become a franchise.
And I wonder if they didn't do that as much because how young she's supposed to be. And they were like, well, maybe let's separate ourselves a little. Because when you're in a movie, it's a little different, you know? People are a little harsher. They're going to watch without context. They'll be like, oh, she's 16.
Yeah.
Maybe this is 17. All right. Well, I don't know. That would be my
Yeah.
that'd be my reasoning for it.
I don't know. But, you know, did this movie hit? Did it miss? I think this is complicated because it did tell the story of the books. And, like, the scenes with James, like you said, like, once we meet him and she's being hunted, it almost feels like page for page.
It's so, really?
Yeah.
It's so cool, too.
The who takes the trucks, them switching the clothes, Emmett jumping on the back of the truck and scaring the crap out of her. Like, all of that stuff, like, it hits so well. And then the ballet studio, giving the slip at the air. Like, the way that they were able to do the part that is action translates really well to a movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like the fundamentals and, like, the major climax of the film are all there.
Yeah.
But I think the direction and the writing and some of the acting were just kind of a miss.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it has, like, the cult following it has now. Though, like, there are entire groups on the internet dedicated to making Twilight shitposting memes. Like, that's just what they do. And it's people who love it. Like, don't get me wrong, but they love it in spite of its flaws and maybe with its flaws.
Because of its
like,
flaws.
because of the flaws. Like, they're like, look, Bella, a worm. Or, like, Bella, where the hell you been, Loca? Like, that stuff's been embraced instead of ostracized in a way that's, like, kind of kept Twilight way more relevant than I think it would have been.
It is kind of interesting to think about the fact that they made this movie that has those moments, and people still obsessed over it. It still became this huge, big deal, you know? And so there must be something about it that grabs people.
And I think, to some testament, like, hopefully that's the books.
Yeah.
Right?
Just like the core.
People are like, yeah, the movies are crazy, but boy, howdy, do we love these books.
And I wonder, okay, so I'll ask you this, because I do this with a lot of adaptations. I go, does it have the heart of the piece? For me, it did.
Okay.
And I say that because when I read the book, I don't remember saying to myself, man, this feels super different. Like, for me as a one-time reader, one-time viewer, I was like, yeah, this feels right.
Yeah, I think you're probably right that it's not super different. I think the stuff that, like, I'm hung up on is that we just lost, like, the chemistry and the banter and the fun of, like, teenagers falling in love.
Yeah.
And it got boiled down to them, like, spinning around in a meadow.
Again.
And the house scene, which is done really well.
Well, and it's like, okay, sometimes they rip the soul out. That's like Persuasion 2023.
Sure.
That's my expectation of The Giver. Then there's times where it's like, I think you guys, what is it? Just like you missed it. You missed some of the magic.
Yes,
you know?
I think some magic got lost, but I think you're right that the heart of the story is still there.
They lost the plot a little bit.
Oh my God, I didn't even go through my list of just, like, insanely goofy moments.
Well, I just have something that I love.
Yeah.
I wrote a few little comments about the movie. I know you hate this. I like the edible art.
It's on my list of goofy scenes when the apple falls and he catches it and makes the cover.
I loved that so much. Now, I'm also having a good time.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So we have Emmett's bags of eggs, Edward's fingertips, Jasper's crazed stare, hand over the nose, the ketchup bottle where she, like, isn't at the diner and she's just like, you need to squeeze it, bitch. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
She can't get ketchup out? Is that what's happening?
Well, we're supposed to think she does, but she just, like, the way she does it is just like, it comes out in, like, the little squirt. But then she's like, your eyes are different. He's like, it's the fluorescence. We've already discussed this, but the Cullens don't come here. And then it's, like, silent and dramatic. And then she's like, what did he mean by that? Oh, you heard him say that? Like, you heard that?
You heard that? Oh, I will say, wasn't there a scene, maybe it's that same one where he catches the apple, but there's just, like, vegetables? Like, oh.
I mean, the first time so she's making a salad, and it's, like, the craziest salad. It looks like gourmet. But then also, like, in front of him at one point is a plate of lettuce with just a single carrot on it. Like, there's so much weird stuff. And then they also, for the movie, I don't know why they did this, and I think it was just purely to make money.
Okay.
Was they gave all the Cullens like their own family crest jewelry.
Oh.
So the guys all had bracelets.
I remember
then Rosalie
this
had this
vaguely.
like huge locket, and Alice has a choker. And what they did was they like sold them
Merchandise. Yeah,
so you could have the Edward crest on your wrist, or whatever.
Dumb.
I didn't like it.
I didn't
don't like
I
it.
don't like it.
And then the baseball scene is a work of art, and I will not hear a word against it.
I love the baseball scene, so okay.
That's all she wrote. No, it's not. There's 4 more books. 5 or 6 more books if we count the extras, because we've got New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, Midnight Sun, The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner, and Life and Death.
Wow.
So 7 books altogether in the Twilight universe.
Poor Bree Tanner.
Or Bree Tanner.
Did you read it?
Oh, yeah.
Was it good?
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's interesting.
Do you think? I don't know. I never read sequels. Like
It's not
never.
really a sequel.
Well, no. I mean, I don't read sequels. Period. So I'm like, I would never even make it to that one because, although I am going to read the second in the Housemaid series.
Yeah, you are.
I am gonna, even though I think it's a completely different story and it's not related to the first one. I'm not sure.
I'm not telling you anything.
Don't tell me anything.
I will say, if you ever get the itch to read Midnight Sun.
Really? Yeah. And Midnight Sun is
his perspective of Twilight.
Yeah, I hear it's a lot darker.
Oh, I mean, he is so full of, it's double the size almost, I'm pretty sure. But so she had started writing it with the intent to release it, and it got leaked.
Oh.
And she went, "You guys can't have nice things, I'm done." And then she released it in 2020. Oh. I finished it in 24 hours.
Wow,
I finished that
huge.
giant book in 24 hours.
That book is giant.
I didn't do a single thing except read that book and maybe drink water.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still, that's big.
Yeah.
That's like, well, okay, that's not correct. I was like, that's like reading a Dickens, but no, because the language is a lot easier than reading
a lot
Dickens.
Easier.
I am slowly working my way through Dickens, and it's very long, and the language is very thick. If it was that language, I probably wouldn't take me a full month.
Yep.
Okay.
So with that, I'm going to take us out. Thanks for tuning into episode 2 of Book Watchers. We're happy to have you here. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. I think right now we're only on Spotify and Apple, so there would be preferred. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment. Share the video. If they pop up some sort of Twilight garbage after this, I encourage you to watch it and report back.
Yeah, if there's another,
if they
someone
give you,
else
like,
talks about Twilight.
Yeah, if they're like, hey, you liked this, maybe you'll like George's rendition of Bella's Lullaby. I don't know what I'm saying.
I liked it. That was good. I want to know. I want to report back about George's Lullaby.
If you think there's things I missed, things that you think are goofier, things that you think I was too hard on.
Wow. You're
Tell
welcoming the dialogue.
Oh, I want it.
Never give me any feedback like that. Only tell me I did good.
Yeah, I think between the two of us, I'm going to be the one that like reads reviews and comments, and Ariel's going to
hide.
I
actually do want to do...
Which is funny because this was her idea.
I know. It's my baby. That's why I can't have anybody... I can't have you telling me I did anything wrong.
Yeah. Do you know the next episode? The
So,
next story that you're covering?
I do.
Okay.
I'm going to my childhood. I'm going to something that's going to make me vehemently angry. We are going to cover The Giver.
And then, okay.
The Giver was done as a book, then it was done as a movie, and I have only seen the trailer at this point. I have not watched it. It is one of my favorite books. I read it once a year. I love it so much. And dear God,
I remember hating The Giver.
The book?
Uh-huh. So I'm excited. I'm not going to reread it. I'm just going to watch the movie.
Okay.
Because that's
the format.
The rules.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch the movie, and I'm going to see if it persuades me to give the book another try, or I'm going to see if you can persuade me.
Okay, maybe my love for it. I mean, you have to understand, I think The Giver's a masterpiece.
Wow, why did I hate it so much, guys?
Maybe because we're kids. But
I don't know, man. It's kind of like a dystopian.
Yeah, it's a work of art,
which is like
to me.
My favorite genre.
And I read it all the time. I love it. I always get something new out of it.
Yep.
I saw the trailer and I wanted to throw something into my television.
Taylor Swift's in it, so.
She is, and I'm, oh my sweet God. But yeah, so The Giver.
The Giver.
That's going to be coming up next, in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, something like that.
Something like that. Anyway,
All right, buddy.
All right. Keep reading, keep watching.
Love you, miss you. Bye.
Bye.
I like you're so quippy. Keep reading, keep watching.